We now have a panel discussion coming your way. Khozema Anajwala, partner at KNAV, will be moderating this KNAV, will be moderating the conversation on the topic Canada, a startup mecca rivaling Silicon Valley. And you will hear from André Petitclerc, Senior Director, Investments at Invest Quebec, Crown Corporation of the Province of Quebec, Matt Saunders, founder, Fastbreak Ventures, and Gaurav Bansal, investment professional, Volt Accelerator. A little about Khozema before I hand the stage over to him. International practice partner for the KNAV Group, Khozema champions KNAV's high-performance culture with a strong emphasis on global expansion of the group and seamless availability of expert yet practical solutions for clients across KNAV firms. With over 29 years of experience building and advising leading companies on international accounting and audit issues, Khozema has been an influential voice of management assurance services to growing mid-sized entrepreneurial and international multinational companies. Over to you, Khozema, to introduce the panelists and take it from there.
Thank you very much, Mitali, for your kind words, and good morning to all of you joining in from North America, and good evening to all the people from India. We have, a very very wonderful panel, I would say. Starting from Matt Saunders, who as Mitali said, is the founder of Fastbreak Ventures and also, I believe, Zone Startup Ventures, and with a keen outlook for the pre-seed, seed stage, early stage B2B tech investments, which, I mean, the audience would really be excited to know about your international tie-ups in India and Vietnam that we're aware of. Matt, welcome. And we have André Petitclerc from, Invest Quebec. If I were to say Investissement Quebec, and of course, now this is another side. You have late stage investments. People talk about capital all the time, but along with capital, what is more important is the parameters of growth. So, André will come in there and we'll hear him. Welcome, André. And then we have Gaurav Bansal, who's, it's another direction. We have early stage, we have late stage, and then we have focused investments. So we talk about him coming from Holt, which is a focused accelerator, and more to listen to him when he starts about giving us more insights about the company and what they do. So welcome to you, Gaurav. And if I were to talk about the buzzword currently about Silicon Valley North, talk about the Toronto Waterloo corridor, or it is as known as the corridor nowadays. There's lots with people would know about it, people would have read, but when it comes to Toronto, it's got a lot of attention. It's got a lot of attention of the people in the world globally, and especially from India. So if I were to start with Matt, keeping all these discussions aside and knowing all of these factors, what do you think it makes, or what works in Toronto? What is it that makes work for in Toronto?
Well, I think if you look back historically at the Canadian innovation ecosystem, it used to be a couple of big behemoths that drove everything, and way back Nortel, and then after that RIM. Now we have a much more diverse landscape in the Canadian marketplace. We still have large companies like Shopify, which Chris mentioned on the last session. It's for sure a breakaway winner with a massive valuation of bigger than all the Canadian banks, of at $184 billion. But the ecosystem's really developed over the last couple of decades for a few reasons. I think the cost and time of developing tech solutions, the advent of cloud computing and the mobile revolution, the growing app market has allowed people to build solutions much faster and cheaper. Canada's always had a good education system, as Chris mentioned in the last session. We have capable graduates, tech savvy population, large talent pool. Also, the Canadian government has been really focused on innovation, providing capital through government bank, which is called the Business Development Bank of Canada, through obviously, André will talk about Invest Quebec, and there's groups like his across each of the provinces, and various startup programs where you can get grant money, which is non-dilutive. There's things like IRAP in Ontario, there's Ontario Centre for Excellence. We also have SHRED credits for R&D. So the government has really put a lot of focus on it. And this boom we're in now, I think part of the reason it started is after 2008, when a lot of these graduates were coming out of university, there were no jobs because we were in a credit crisis. The market was terrible. So a lot of these young people started businesses, and that's sort of paved a way where more and more graduates seek that as an opportunity. Also, you look at the size, the GTA, and Toronto is the third largest market in North America behind New York and LA. So there's a huge population. You mentioned the Toronto-Waterloo corridor. There's about 2,000 to 3,000 startups every year in that corridor. So we have a massive amount of early stage companies, which is great. And everything from fintech to insurtech, health tech, prop tech, a lot of e-commerce solutions, a lot of stuff now in the green sector, which is coming along. So yeah, it's a big market and lots of great talent, and all those ingredients I mentioned, I think, are the reasons why it's been successful and continues to grow.
Oh, wonderful, Matt. I'd like to continue with a little follow-up question with you, because you see, Startup Bridge Canada it's a program which is aiming to select high potential B2B software enterprise tech startups that are looking to expand in North America. Now, I'm sure the audience here would like to know from you as to what is the investor appetite, and also let's say the corporate interest in this category, because that's where your experience and your over these years, what do you feel about this? It'll be wonderful to listen to you.
Yeah, I mean, irregardless of location, as my colleagues would agree with, if you have a good business that solves a real problem, it's highly scalable, it's capital efficient, and you've begun to show traction, then you'll get on the radar of investors. There's lots of Canadian investors now. If you look at there's a Venture Capital Association in Canada that there's about 70 registered VCs across the country with CVCA, and that continues to grow. The majority of the deals happen in the large cities, like obviously, which makes sense. Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver are the bigger cities, and they're funding everything from ICT solutions, life science, clean tech, agribusiness, and there's lots of US VCs coming in to the market as well, because there's basically a discount to invest in Canada because our dollar is about 30% lower than the US. So you have lots of big US funds like USV, Bessemer, Point72 coming in and investing. But the Canadian landscape is strong. There's about $1 billion per quarter being invested in the startup ecosystem, which is great. With regard to the corporate interest, there's obviously a ton of corporates across the Canadian landscape. Obviously, all the banks are headquartered in Toronto, the top insurance companies, really strong healthcare system. But you also have to look at how those businesses are funded, or not funded, how they're regulated. With regard to the banks and telcos, they're heavily regulated in Canada. There's no foreign competition. Therefore, they're sometimes not as innovative as they could be or should be. So you have to recognize that. But being, set up here in Toronto, you can easily sell into the U.S. market. It's an hour flight to New York, a couple hours to the West Coast. So you can get around easily. There's a strong healthcare system here, strong education system here. But again, you have to look at how those groups are funded, either provincially or federally. So again, there's some issues, and it could be a longer sales cycle selling into some of those opportunities. However, once you're in, if you have a good product and a good solution, you could do very well. So if your business is, if you solve a real pain point for the market, and if your business generates, if you help a business generate revenue, you'll probably get a deal faster than you're helping someone save cost. But it's a great market, great opportunity, and lots of corporate opportunity here as well.
Great. So the buzzword again is revenue, and if it's revenue rather than the cost cutting, culture, I think that's where the investor appetite will be, I'm sure. Thank you very much, Matt. And moving over to Andre, just to take over from here, as at Invest Quebec, what stage would you normally come in? Because when it's well said that you're late stage, but to describe to people, to let people know what stage do you come in and what sectors do you prefer? Would I say, do you really prefer, or is that a choice, or is that you can clarify even that?
Absolutely. So Invest Quebec is the venture fund of the Quebec government. It's a fund of $5 billion Canadian. And we are targeting all the age of a company. So we could invest in early stage, two people in a basement with an idea, up to CGI or Bombardier, the big one. Myself, I'm working for the what we call the major account, so it's 5 millions up to 100 millions by companies. But I will explain you our strategy. So for all the early stage, our strategy is to invest first in fund. So Investment Quebec is one of the biggest fund of fund in Canada. I think we're the fourth or the fifth in terms of cash that we invest in funds. So when a very, very early company arrive with a project, our first reflex is to refer them to some of our fund, depending of the sector, depending of the revenue, the quantity of people. Those funds taking care of the companies, help them to grow, and then after we co-invest with the fund. And we have a lot of success with that. So we have more than 100 funds in our portfolio, and that's really the strategy. It's worked very, very well.
Andre, when you say more than 100 already, so has it been easy or has it been difficult for you to get to these quality deals? Or how? Because you did describe that, it's a government fund and it's heavily funded, but and 100 is a big number when you look at Quebec. So if you can just delve upon that a little more.
The deal flow is good, but it could be better. We're always looking for better investment, better companies. So uh, we receive, you cannot imagine the quantity of business case of call, because we're government. People say, hey, I have an idea, you should invest in us. So but I will be we're very, very proud of what we have in the portfolio. We have a good. We try to stay near of the incubator of the university. We spend a lot of time with those people, giving conference trek to help them, but it's never enough. I'm always try to find the new Microsoft, the new Bell Canada. So we're more than willing to receive more. But actually, I will be very honest with you. Where the Canada is changing, there's more and more entrepreneur, and it's just great.
Okay, so that as when you talk to folks like you with experience, there's always a word that says that welcome to the immigrant entrepreneur. So Matt, if I were to ask you what are the advantages for these immigrant entrepreneurs when they come to Canada generally? I mean, it's just a very open-ended question, but you can answer the way you want. Yeah.
Yeah, again, I mean, the Canadian market, again, well-educated population, solid healthcare system, decent public transit, reasonable cost of living, low crime rate, stable economy, easy to travel around, not during COVID, but in normal times. And we have a very diverse population. If you look at Toronto as an example, it's one of the most diverse cities in the world. There's over 200 ethnic groups, over 140 languages spoken, and approximately 52% of the population in Toronto is made up of visible minorities. And of this, about 70% are Asian ancestry. So it's a very multicultural city, a strong and growing economy, typically low unemployment. Certain areas of Canada are higher than others. And one quick stat for the folks from India, if you look at the density of population in Canada versus India, in Canada, there's about 4 people per square kilometer. In India, there's about 409. So, we're very spread out. The population is only 38 million, which is about 35 times less than India. And 70% of the population lives within 100 kilometers of the U.S. border. So, and that from a GDP perspective, the GDP in Canada is about 47,000 per person, where in India it's about 1,800. So, a wealthy country, a wealth of opportunity, and a great place to start a business, a great place to grow a business. And another big benefit of being in Canada, we have a market 10 times the size just south of us to sell into as well. So lots of opportunities to grow and scale both in the Canadian market and then expand internationally as well.
I must say, your study of the statistics is something wonderful when you compare India and Canada. And obviously, it's known that the second largest land bank is with Canada, but most of it is still uncovered and not occupied. But even then, yeah, I think interesting statistics. And yes, obviously, of great interest to the listeners and the audience, because the main purpose of listening to you is to find out how easy or how lucrative it is to make this immigration as one of the pointers for somebody making a decision. So wonderful. Gaurav, I haven't spoken to you, and I want to just now catch you and ask you, what is Holt Accelerator? I mean, actually, I did say that you come from this organization. I did say that there is a focus accelerator concept. So maybe, a little, if you can define it and explain better, that's wonderful. And then obviously, what key investments does Holt, is there any criteria that Holt follows?
Great. Thanks, Matt and Andre, Cosima. Great to be here. So maybe get a bit of a background. So Holt is a global venture capital fund and a growth accelerator. We invest in early stage fintech companies across the globe. So we have deep roots in the financial services ecosystem, and it started with Sir Herbert Holt back in 1873 when he migrated from Ireland to Canada. Now, he's been on board of 65 plus companies, 250 plus directorships across the globe. He was also the president of RBC from 1908 to 1934. So that's where the legacy or the background comes in, with a focus on fintech. And today we are backed by the Holden Family Office, which is the following fifth generation global multifamily office. At Holt, we are a very diverse team. We are comprising of entrepreneurs, investors, a fund manager like myself, data scientists, and marketing folks. That's what our fund is comprising of. And we represent different geographies. We're from the US, Canada, Europe, and Asia. So we kind of bring that whole holistic approach in terms of the global focus. Together, we've been instrumental to build a 400 plus global advisory network that adds significant value to our portfolio companies. So that's more about Holt in a nutshell. In terms of the investment criteria, we are global, so we look at companies across the globe. You don't have to be based in Canada. Sector-wise, we look at fintech, but sub-verticals. We could look at digital lending, wealth management, banking infrastructure, insurtech, payments, money remittance. We also look at companies where there is a fintech application across different industries. So, for example, regtech, proptech, agritech as well. In terms of stage, we invest in early stage pre-series A companies, and preferably B2B and post-revenue. But yeah, we are open, because in our portfolio we have companies with 5K MRR to even 2 million plus ARR. So we are flexible in that. We strongly focus on team. For us, that is the most important thing. The founding team's experience in the relevant domain, where you're building your business. So that has to be, spot on. And we generally prefer multiple co-founders in a team. Lastly, maybe is the criticality of the business problem the startup or the company is addressing. How critical is that, and how, what's the qualitative and quantitative impact of your solution on the end customers in terms of ROI? So that's more on the investment criteria. And over the last 3 years, we received 2,000 plus fintech applications from 87 countries, and we've accelerated 27 companies from 10 countries as we speak.
Hey, that's interesting, Gaurav. But then, of course, you spoke about the global footprint of Holt and about how you go about investment, and you did speak about fintech. Now, enabling global fintech companies, how would you tackle this? Because today the audience is all from India. So if you look at this global setup, and so how would you enable, say, an Indian global fintech, Indian fintech in this time?
Okay. Yeah, great question. I think that the global angle is key. So, when you look at Holt, we're more of partners right from investment to beyond exit. That's how we work with companies, right? Our aim is to accelerate your business growth at a global level. And yes, if you're focusing North America, that is our sweet spot. And we'll assist you on a lot of fronts, whether it's team building, market expansion, product enhancement, or funding. Now, for example, let's take this audience as an example. You want to set up a business in North America. Through our ecosystem partners, we will accelerate your company setup, whether it's legal documentation, whether it's regulatory aspects, on data compliance or insurance requirements, sales channels, accounting and taxation, talent recruitment, even investor and customer introductions, a lot of government grants, which Matt earlier pointed out, and a lot of service provider credits and discounts. Maybe to break it further for you, what we really do is, we run a 3-month accelerator program from August to October each year. During that program, we analyze, okay, you're a company in this geography. This is your current status of business aspects, and we set some OKRs. And during the 12 weeks, the 3 months, 3 of us from the investment team, which includes 2 managing partners and myself, we invest 1 hour each week per company. And we help you on, okay, with North America, what's your product market fit, your sales funnel, your GTM strategy, your financial model, your pricing strategy with respect to different currencies, your unit economics, your investor presentation and preparation on due diligence as well. So we help you on those fronts. And we also help you set webinars. We do webinars, demo days, pitch clinics across geographies. And say within Canada, we do it in 3 geographies, whether it's Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, even US, right? So that's how we help on the business front. Plus, we have a 400 plus global advisory network, right, which comprises of Series A investors, financial institutions, and tech experts. So we introduce you to them. You don't have to spend time that, okay, which organization, which business unit, which person to reach out and how. We save all your time, connect you with the business objective that, okay, it's for business development, it's for funding, it's for a government grant, for product enhancement. We've also partnered with academy and tech consulting firms. Service providers, 200K plus worth of credits from AWS, Freshworks, Play, Chargebee, Carter, a lot of them, right? We've also partnered with Scale AI from Montreal, which is one of the AI super clusters from the government of Canada. A lot of our companies have applied for government grants and also received them, right? So that's how, we help all these companies to get global, set North America as a beachhead. Lastly, since we are present in 10 different countries through our companies, we also have the alumni effect. We help cross-border collaboration. So if a company from India wanting to sell in Canada can also sell in UK, so we help what are the best business practices across the globe. There's a lot more, but yeah, I will pause there.
Really interesting. I think it was a well scoped response, and it will surely assist guys who are listening to this fact. And it takes me, to a similar question to Andre. That people do come to invest. If it is Invest Quebec, and if I were to ask you, how many or companies which Invest Quebec would have invested in, would they have a non-Canadian base, or would they be a global base? And what criteria would you consider for such global companies? So one is, have you done this in the past, and how many, and and then if those who want to think about it, then what is the criteria that they need to keep in mind when they approach you?
Okay. In fact, Investment Quebec, like I told you, it's the venture arm of the Quebec government, and what we're doing, it's the economic development investment. So each time that we invest, we have to look the return on investment, but also the impact on the economy. So what I said, we're doing economic development profitable. So each time that we analyze, we will make money, but we will have creation of job. So if a company from outside Quebec is coming to see us, that company has to have a plan for the Quebec, creating job, etc. Yes, we have, in fact, in our fund, we have a lot of company from outside Quebec, because it's kind of equilibrate the risk, etc. But we could also invest directly, Investment Quebec, in a company. For example, it's not from India, but from France, Ubisoft, the gaming company. At the moment, we invest 40 million Canadian on Ubisoft. We were the second biggest shareholders of Ubisoft, because they have the plan to create 600 jobs and a new group to do game mobile play. So it's case by case. We have a lot of that. A lot of American company are part of our portfolio, European too, but it's case by case, and it depends on the impact on the economy.
Interesting, yeah, because we've heard a lot about Quebec, inviting companies to set up, and so it's pretty interesting. But if I were to just continue this question with you, Andre, you see, capital is the key word. Whenever it comes to entrepreneurs, it is an important aspect. But entrepreneurs look beyond capital. It's something to do with growth story. Now there are a lot of parameters that they would need assistance with. How would you, as Invest Quebec, help on those factors? You discussed about capital, you discussed about investment, but what about the other parameters?
Yeah, in fact, the plus value that we give to the company is first of all we want for on each company we ask to have a seat on the board, and it's not employees of Investment Quebec who will sit on the board. We will try to find a person with a value add, an entrepreneur of the sector, somebody with a big network. So first of all, that's something that we put in place. We also favorize co-business between our portfolio companies. So it's not rare that we put together before COVID, 2-3 entrepreneurs together in a restaurant to discuss and try to see how they could give business one to the other one. So we also have an international a group at Investment Quebec, offices around the world. So for example, something that happens last month, one of my company in portfolio were looking to open something in China. We asked our employee in China to help them, to present companies, to present professional there. So that's something that we're doing very, very well.
Very interesting, and you talked about COVID, and you talked about the 2 or 3 entrepreneurs in a restaurant. Now that it makes me the year 2020. Actually, it's known to be the digital year. Of course, digitalization has begun long back, but when it comes to pure play digital system, it has been 2020. Nobody can deny that. So this question probably I will ask each one of you to take it in the way that you want. We might begin with say Gaurav. Well, if you agree that this was a digital year, how did you manage investments during this period?
Yeah, it was actually it was a big change that year, like 2020. We normally invite companies to Montreal, Quebec for the 3 months. We work with them in person, but yes, 2020 was 100% digital. At Holt, we are all very tech savvy. We have our own AI platform, which we use for various VC use cases, and we leverage a lot of tools like HubSpot, Asana, Slack. So that's what really helped us to keep going. We leveraged a lot of matchmaking and investment recommendation AI models internally. So maybe just to give you background, in 2020, 723 plus companies from 87 countries applied to our investment and acceleration program. And we invested in 8 companies from 7 countries. Now, how did we go about that? We kind of leveraged different tools, as I mentioned. We leveraged F6S, which allowed us to look at a lot of applications. We have a 400 plus advisory network. And with the matchmaking algo, we were able to match, okay, this is a company which is in agri space or payment space or blockchain or AI, match it with this advisor, get some feedback, market feedback. And we have our internal investment team, including myself and the managing partners. So we leverage all that market inputs and our internal scoring to evaluate companies. From 700, we brought it down to top 100, where we had Zoom interview calls. And it was pretty interesting, with global companies, you have different regulations, different markets, and different questions. So it was pretty interesting. I think the third round of evaluation, where we brought it from top 100 to top 24, was the most interesting, which we call as selection day. We used Zoom breakout rooms where 16 panels, each comprising of 6 advisors across the globe. Each company pitched across 16 panels and got feedback. So in one day, a company, say from India, was able to interact or connect with 70 plus global advisors, including investors, financial institutions, and tech experts, and get feedback. We shared all this feedback anonymously with all the companies so that it helps them. So I think that's where we were able to utilize all the global network and the tools to make our entire investment decisions.
Interesting. I think even for us, it has never been a slow story. Deals took place without the promoters meeting each other. So companies got acquired, companies got without a physical intervention. I mean, it's really interesting, and the way you talked about the way 16 panels were set up and the way things were done. I think we achieved more during the 2020 digital period. And that's it, Matt. What do you have to say, Matt, on this? Like, how was it for you during 2020? Because you deal with the early stage, so maybe a little different from all these guys, or how is it?
Yeah, you know what? For the last few years, we travel a ton. We were running programs and investing in India, investing in Southeast Asia, as well as across Canada. So I don't miss the jet lag. But I think in some cases we were more efficient because there's lots of tools out there. From a tracking perspective, from a communications perspective, there's really no issues that you can communicate with folks regularly. There is that, it's nice to go to, as Andre said, a restaurant with somebody and, make it a little more personal than just, the financial audit and due diligence audit and the things we do as we make decisions. So that maybe a bit of the personal side was left out. But with regards to monitoring and managing existing portfolio companies or, evaluating the ones that we have in our deal flow, it's not that much difficult to do because there's so many great tools out there. And, you can operate in this world and, locked up at home, if you will. I prefer not to, and I hope this ends soon. But it was business as usual. We made investments where we still haven't met the companies, which is interesting, in person, I mean. So hopefully it ends soon. Hopefully we can get back out and meet companies. But I do think the landscape has changed. I don't think people are going to be in the office 5 days a week going forward. I don't think people will travel as much. I think they still will travel, but just not as much as they have in the past. But I do miss that, bumping into people in the office, bumping into people on the street and having those discussions that, you don't pick up those nuances where, if I bumped into Gaurav and we talked about a company that we both knew and got excited about it, maybe we do a deal together or something, you don't have that. But you reach out to your network and set up calls, and it's more programmed than, just happening out of the blue.
No, so obviously business, the business parameters have changed because of one, COVID existence. And as you rightly said, you look forward to 2021, which has already begun, and we're at the end of month. We are closing January soon, and I don't think we've seen anything different from 2020 till now, at least. And so obviously, do you think it's going to be, similar approach? Would it be that you will have?
We lost him. Sorry, you cut out there. Yeah, similar approach, and then you cut out. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, a similar approach. Do you see coming in 2021 in terms of the investments for the early stage, companies that you look for?
Yeah, I mean, well, speaking specifically from the Canadian landscape and Toronto specifically, I mean, we're still locked up and will be for a while. So it'll be a while before we get back to the office. Hopefully, if things go well, everybody will be vaccinated by kind of August, September timeframe. So it'll be realistically next fall, we'll start to get back to, I think, some sense of normalcy and back to the office and back to meeting. But as I said earlier, I don't think it'll be 5 days a week. I think there'll be some hybrid of you go to the office a few days a week, you're working from home a few days a week, and overall probably traveling less than we did in the past.
All right, Andre, do you want to take your last pick on the same matter as to how did you?
Yes, I will tell you that for us, like my two colleagues said, we use all those tools and Zoom team. I'm now an expert, so no problem. We work with that. Because I'm doing investment later stage, I will say that I could tell you that the first few months was to make sure that all the companies were cash okay. So we spend a lot of time make sure and prepare a couple of small rounds to give our company enough cash to do the cut if necessary, etc. So, and now actually we work a lot on opportunities on the market because I'm pretty lucky. My portfolio is in good shape. So I will tell you that more than half of my portfolio's companies looking M&A. So we're pretty active. It's our biggest year. I think we are more productive, like you said. No trip, no lose of time. But you know, like you said, Garage at the beginning, we invest in teams, and the fact that we are doing all that by the web now, there's something missing. You know, that to be together, meeting the people. So I can tell you that I'm looking forward to have a meeting face to face, and with an entrepreneur and coming back. But for now, it's okay. I think we have lose our friend.
Did he freeze again?
Yeah.
Are you there? Okay. Yeah. I think he dropped off. Okay.
Montreal is minus 12 today.